Why hasn't Al-Shabaab been defeated in Somalia? For some quick context, Al-Shabaab is an Al-Qaeda affiliated group that controls much of Somalia, for the most part rural areas, although a couple small towns and cities as well. They've been present in Somalia for roughly 20 years at this point, and despite numerous U.S. drone strikes from Turkey as well, billions of dollars spent by the United States, the European Union, and partners in East Africa, especially Kenya. And despite the deployment of thousands of troops, tens of thousands of troops from Africa to try to defeat Al-Shabaab, it continues to persist. Well, the reason why Al-Shabaab continues to persist, it's actually quite obvious. I think there's three reasons for this. The first is the fact that there really isn't any incentive to actually stop Al-Shabaab. Countries like Kenya depend on the United States for financial assistance, and this money is conditional on countries like Kenya as well as Uganda going and fighting Al-Shabaab in Somalia. Well, the funny thing is that if you actually defeat Al-Shabaab, then the United States does not need you anymore, and there's no reason that they will continue to send you money. So these countries actually are in a funny position where they go and fight, but if they actually defeat and get rid of Al-Shabaab, they'll become irrelevant. So there's not really any incentive for them to fully get rid of this group. The second thing is also that because a lot of these countries, such as Kenya and Uganda, as well as others that are fighting in Somalia to try to defeat Al-Shabaab, the soldiers who are fighting these armies are quite poor, and that's not their fault. It's the fault of course, half a century of European colonialism in Africa, and they are poor, and what often ends up happening is that the weapons they are given end up being sold on the black market to Al-Shabaab. And I think there was actually, I could be wrong, but I remember reading somewhere, I think that roughly 1/3 of all weapons that Al-Shabaab has its origin from the United States. The United States through the proxy like Kenya, and then Kenya or Uganda or other troops selling those weapons to Al-Shabaab. But third and finally, the reason why Al-Shabaab ends up persisting is because, people will say ideology, but frankly, it's the economics. Somalia is unfortunately a very poor country. Again, not the fault of Somalia, it's the fault of colonialism and neocolonialism. And Al-Shabaab often offers people, a certain amount of money and therefore able to recruit. That's the reason why Al-Shabaab persists, in my opinion. I don't think continuing to try to fight them through the United States or other proxies is going to work. What's going to be required is an economic restructuring and the end of colonialism in East Africa. That's how you're going to get rid of Al-Shabaab. Thank you so much.